This is New England Public Media. I'm Jill Kaufman. On Beacon Hill today, state lawmakers will hear testimony on a bill looking to change the culture of sports in public schools. If it passes, an act to remodel public school athletics through social-emotional learning would amend Massachusetts' anti-bullying law, and districts could opt in or not. For years, Mitch Lyons and Carrie Rulak of Get Psyched Sports have been advocating for a bill of this kind. Lyons has been a public school and college basketball coach. Rulak was an athletic director in the Boston Public Schools and at the college level. He's now dean of students at Newton North High School. What they want, Rulak says, is to see coaches trained and held accountable like any other licensed school professional.
And what we're seeing on the education side is a curriculum and and evaluations that hold teachers accountable for what happens in the classroom. You'll never see an English teacher screaming in the face of, a student about Macbeth, but you'll see some of those things in the coaching roles.
And if you could just clarify, some coaches are hired by the district, some coaches are hired to do a specific sport.
Districts do it differently. Smaller districts, might, allow the athletic director and the building personnel to do all the hiring themselves. Larger districts, it might be a larger operation.
Okay, and there's certification for a coach of some kind, like a teacher?
There are some certifications for coaches, but again, coaches aren't held accountable and the evaluations don't speak to, what we're trying to establish, which is just at minimum a safe and, positive environment.
Say a little bit more about what it is you are trying to do around the culture of school sports teams that is about coaches, but also about players, if I understand correctly.
I'll let Mitch chime in here.
Yes, there are two pillars to the model of a sports team. They are a coach has all the power and students are voiceless. Of course, that power imbalance invites abuse. So we're looking at it more systemically and saying what could be changed to change the problems in sports, including abuse, hate, bias, negative cultures. So a written curriculum that will change what is taught on the team, including addressing positive team climate the way they address in Massachusetts the safe and supportive schools framework. Why can't that be applied to teams as well? So we're asking that the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, which is our Department of Ed in Massachusetts, publish guidelines for the implementation of a social emotional learning curriculum on sports teams.
Okay, so what is a social emotional learning curriculum? Because I'm sure there are guidelines for coaches of some kind, but what is this? What's different here?
Teaching explicitly how to create safe and supportive and bias-free team cultures, provide age-appropriate leadership roles in making decisions and carrying out responsibilities, and develop other skills such as emotion management, conflict resolution, ethical decision-making, and problem solving. And the wonderful thing is this can be taught right on a sports team. And this would be a way to actually aid our efforts for emotional well-being for our children.
Mitch Lyons or Carrie Rulak, where does this go if it were to pass? This is not a mandate. These are suggestions.
A school district, they look at DESE's advice as to how to implement such a curriculum. That would have to be with the athletic director, and then the athletic director would have to evaluate coaches based on whether they modeled and taught how to do these various skills. And if that happens, really absorbing the science like sports psychology, like social emotional learning, like behavioral psychology. All of these have grown in our knowledge, but sports has not progressed to the rest of school. And so that's what we're trying to do. In the sports culture, of course, is not that interested in changing the status quo.
So we've been at this for a while now. When I met Mitch, actually, I invited him into my high school. I was the athletic director, and I had, the authority to make sure that my coaches were following the plan and showing up and doing all the different things we're asking them to do. But there was some pushback there, and statewide there was pushback, with what we consider the old guard of how athletics have been run. I would say it goes district by district. And a more progressive district is more inclusive by nature, and these things are woven into the fabric of what they're doing. In districts that aren't so progressive, don't even want to have the conversation.
When it comes to what we see happening in other states, not in Massachusetts by law, that students who are transgendered are being banned from the team of the gender that they identify with. But I imagine that is another level now of what the dynamic could be between a coach and a member of a team.
I think one of the things that, go ahead, Corey, you go.
I was just going to concur, and absolutely, and I happen to be in a district that, does great with diversity and inclusion here in Newton, Massachusetts. Just being here, I'm aware of other districts who aren't. It's very blatant in the districts and don't, necessarily include those different groups.
If this legislation were to go through, what improves?
So in my view, districts now have a guide, and that's a starting place. Districts who adopt will now have a tool to share with their coaches so that everyone is playing from the same playbook. Good coaches are already doing this, and good coaches are getting results already in real time and have been for years. And so this isn't we aren't asking them to do anything extra. We're asking them to just look at it a little differently.
The only difference is that students know what coaches are supposed to be doing. That's one of the biggest fears of players. What's the coach think? What is he doing? How will he react? Or she? Are they going to yell and scream at me, bang the lockers? I've been in all of those places. I mean, it's the way you are with people, basically. That's what SEL is. It's the way you treat other people with kindness, respect, inclusivity, that this is the way you get ahead in the world. You don't yell at people to get results.
Attorney Mitch Lyons and high school dean Carrie Rulak run the organization Get Psyched Sports. This is New England Public Media.